Peace, peace, peace. Hope everybody's doing well. Today is February 21st, 2021. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button to support the channel. It doesn't cost you a thing. Today's topic will be love comes only with the receipt of valued energy. I repeat, love comes only with the receipt of valued energy. So LOVE is living off valued energy. So the valued energy that you bring to people, they normally determine or view you through that lens. The idea that they have of you, of how you subjectively make them feel, is a big part of what we call love, living off valued energy. And it's an acronym, and it's not written nowhere, but you see it in a demonstration of people. Following that as a guideline is so imperative. My son introduced me to this acronym maybe a year and a half ago or so. He probably saw it on social media or whatever. And when he brought it to me, I said, wow, that's it. I always knew it, but I couldn't put it into words like that. So I started to play around with it. And I started to retrospect on how people interface with one another, how I interface with them, how they interface with me. And when people say, yo, I got love for you. What does that mean when you break it down, right? So obviously there's a value that you're adding to their life. You might be a lending ear to circumstances or to venting. You might bring laughter. You might bring socioeconomic status or the prowess of that. You might be a so-called celebrity or a star. Remember, everybody loves a winner, whatever that is, right? So the person who can actuate in the society economically is deemed to have higher value than the person who can't do that. But that's not the only form of value, although people look at it as such. So again, what kind of skill sets do you have? Is it a listening skill set? Is it a therapeutic skill set where you're kind of a counselor and you're able to solve problems or problem solve? What kind of value do you bring? So, this is why I named this title, Love Comes Only with the Receipt of Valued Energy. The receipt of valued energy is what you actually bring to the table. And sometimes, based on how you make people feel, that can carry you for a long time or a short time. I've seen certain people that most of the time yesterday's score don't count in today's game, but depending on the person who's observing that individual, sometimes it does. Me personally, I don't play around with it because I know pretty much the nature of how the majority, not all, the majority of people are. So for me, it kind of hurts me in the long run because I love people with a large portion of unconditional love. So their financial status, it doesn't have to be up there as long as they're bringing something to the table that makes me feel good when they leave my presence. There's a residual effect of the interfacing or the interaction that we have. And I know that, damn, I feel good after that interaction, rather than saying, damn, I feel awful after interfacing with them. Everybody's going to bring something different to the table, and that's a value or a form of devaluing. So relationships are kind of like bank accounts. So you have deposits and you have withdrawals taking place. So if you're not depositing into how that person feels and into their world, whether you realize it or not, consciously or subconsciously, your value begins to drop. And people begin to deal with you differently. It happens every day. It happens all the time. And the duration of time that you've been in this relationship with them, friendship, acquaintanceship, familyship, co-workership, it doesn't matter once that value begins to plummet in their eyes. I didn't say your eyes. I didn't say objectively in society's eyes, in their eyes, right? I think I've used LeBron James as an example, right? All the talent that he has, all the game-winning shots and championship rings that he's brought to different teams. If he gets caught in a serious scandal, like tomorrow or next week or something like that, depending on the severity of it, he can literally fall off. His valued energy is gone. Look at R. Kelly, for example, right? The majority of people don't mess with him no more. Some people don't even play his music no more. I still play his music. I don't throw the whole baby out with the bathwater. You know why? Because when I interface with people, I already know that I'm dealing with a flawed being. So I try to deal with the body of work, not the last endeavor, which is why I keep saying, let your last endeavor be your best endeavor. Because you're dealing with the nature of human beings. I deal with nature, not nurture. The nurture is what they're telling you, their core beliefs, their opinions, their worldviews, and et cetera, et cetera. But that gets trumped when the nature kicks in. So if you do something that triggers that nature, you're going to find out why I keep saying, let your last endeavor be your best endeavor. The duration of time won't even save you in that sense. And I mean, you see it all the time. I don't have to reach hard to try to prove that point. So, when you're dealing with human nature, there's always an invisible hourglass, more times than not, going on between the people that you interface with and that interface with you. So going back to my point before about the bank account, deposit withdrawals, you want to make sure that you're depositing enough into that account, whether you're doing it consciously or not, or subconsciously, where there's not an overdraft fee going on over there, because that overdraft fee will shift their view or their the biochemical feeling that they have. Because remember, we're chemical beings, and biochemistry governs how we deal with people. So that shift of how you feel about a person can change just like that, right? So I study these things. If you say something when you've been saying, you might have had a body of information that was on point for 10 years straight. If you say something, let's say, like, for example, in the melanated so-called Black community, and you're a activist, and your information has been on point for years. If you say something that is borderline coonish, the whole community will throw you away. We see it all the time. But it ain't just in our community. This is just human nature in general. So I specify studying and assessing human behavior, human value assessment, and value assignment to something other than themselves, because you can't love somebody unless you love yourself. So something about them, the idea of what they're doing, reminds you of you. The minute they stop reminding you of you, there's an overdraft fee. Withdrawal, deposit, right? So there's an invisible overdraft fee in their psyche, and they can shift on you just like that. Nas said one time in his song, he said, the hearts of men change as time goes on. So little stuff like that always stuck with me. And when I take those lyrics and I look around to see, is this happening in real time, or is this just lyrics being put out there? And time has shown, time is the best teacher. Time will teach you if you allow it and you sit back and be very still and assess things, minus your emotions, minus your core beliefs, and you see objective reality. Objective reality should rule over core beliefs, and core beliefs should always shift around objective reality, right? Because living off valued energy is a hard objective reality that a lot of people don't want to deal with. So you have intimate love between lovers, right? You have regular family love. You have friendship love. It's still valued energy. And just because some people say blood is thicker than water, I say energy is thicker than blood and water, right? Because just because they're family don't mean that they're good for you. It's just that you share the same DNA and RNA. So back to the topic at hand, love comes only with the receipt of valued energy, right? In my 45 years of being on this planet, I haven't seen it any different than what I'm stating right there. It's so evident and so clear. if I was an athlete or some kind of star or whatever, I already know that if this thing can shift at any time, fans love you or cheer for you because of the valued energy that you bring. If you're in sports, you're bringing championship rings to that particular city. But let you have a bad season or 2 or 3 and watch how quick them fans change on you. What happened? If it was real love, it would be unconditional. So is there such a thing as unconditional love? I'll go deeper. I have some female friends that I tease a lot, and I says, do you think you love your kids? Oh, I love my kids. I love my kids. I'd be like, you love the idea of your children. But if your feelings was to change and those children tumble out of your feelings, you see women all the time. Sometimes they'll take the child, put it in the car. I forgot. I think it was it was a white woman years ago. I forgot what state it was, and she had 2 or 3 of her kids. Drove the car into a lake, or they'll leave it by a church, I think in Coney Island this past week, they found a child in a dumpster, right? And it shows you that that child was also living off valued energy. The energy of the mother or the father, right, that the child brought to them doesn't exist no more. So that receipt got thrown in the garbage, therefore the child got thrown in the garbage, right? You see this in friendship, familyship, child to parent, parent to child. And then you see fathers do the same thing. Depending on what happened with that mother, they'll wig out. The valued energy of the child and the whole family ship goes out the window. They shoot the child, shoot the woman, and then commit suicide. I'm not making this up. This is all in the media, right? You don't have to look hard to prove these points, right? So this is objective reality. So when I put it to the test, I like to put things to the test. Is living off valued energy an actual thing going on with human nature? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves, right? And I've more than been able to prove this to myself, and others prove it to me as I observe their interfacing with others and how they interface with me and how I interface with them. Bruce Lee said, to gather self-knowledge, you have to watch yourself as you interact with another person or thing. As you interact with another person or thing. And there is where self-discovery and knowledge is acquired, right? He also said that relationships is the mirror to self-discovery, right? And also relationship also, like I said before, it allows you to understand who you are by dealing with something other than yourself, so you can understand about yourself. And then you say, I love that thing, event, or person. 3 things, right? But it's still a receipt that comes with that. And that receipt is how they make you feel. How they make you feel will determine whether you blurt or spit out, I love you, or I can't stand that, I can't stand you, get away from me. See, so when children are born, they're completely unaware of this dynamic. But the family, if they were planning for them and they really was welcoming them, and when the child is born, the feeling, the euphoria, right, is there. But in all families, that feeling don't stay there, right? And whether it's the father or the mother, we see this behavior all the time. So the valued energy is so important that you're living off of. I repeat, the valued energy is so important that you're living off of with every and anybody. That's predictable in the unpredictability of human behavior. From the womb to the tomb presumes the unpredictable. Nas said, 1995, the Purple Tape, Raekwon album. So I'm very witty about these lyrics and what do these lyrics mean. So it's all data and information though, right? That's why I always tell people, first you learn to read, then you read to learn. And in reading to learn, you begin to expand your worldview and expand your horizon of how you see the world. And you put it to the test as a scientist, right? And you begin to run your experimentations to see what results that comes back. And your belief should never be rigid. It should always be pliable. Core beliefs, that is. Because as objective reality changes, you have to change with it. And I don't mean artificial objective reality. I mean organic objective reality, what nature brings, right? Because you have a lot of artificial objective realities out here, things that don't exist. Like, for example, the tooth fairy is not real, but we make it part of an objective reality because we believe it. Whatever we believe exists. And we assign valued energy to it. And there's the receipt that I was speaking about earlier, which is the topic of this video, right? So you're always living off valued energy. The valued energy that you live off of is based on the observer and what they're assigning to you. In ancient Kemet, there was a saying that the ancients didn't place value on the actual object or event, but they placed value on what they were projecting onto the object and the event. What they were projecting onto the object and event brings back the receipt that the event or the object or the person is actually living off of, which is living off valued energy. And this is where the receipt that I'm speaking of comes from. Am I making sense, or am I talking in circles? I think I'm driving home the points because I'm very clear in my dissertations, right? Being able to critically think about all these things. And, you know, I'm a psych major. I study how people behave and why they do the things they do, including me. Because as I'm observing you, I'm learning about me. This has nothing to do with anyone around me, right? And this is a way of life. This is my freedom culture that I practice. So no matter what happens, good, bad, or indifferent, I've said this before, that experience can help you, hurt you, or kill you. It's going to do either one of the three. So it's up to you how you determine that. What kind of perceptual measurements are you making toward that said event, and how you bring it back, and what assignment are you projecting onto that event, person, object, right? The Bugatti 2.5 million doesn't have no value. It doesn't even know that it's 2.5 million in value, but it's us that actually project that out there. The marketplace determines that. And where is the place of the market but in the mind of the observer? Assigning value to things, projecting value onto things, and agreeing that, yes, that costs that much. And then it rigs up the yearning to actually acquire what that is, the material things that we like, right? But no material thing is actually bigger than the observer. These things are subservient to the observer because these things don't even know that they have value. They're inanimate objects. But still in all, love only comes through the receipt of valued energy. And I'll close out on that. Let your last endeavor be your best endeavor. I repeat, let your last endeavor be your best endeavor. Please support the channel. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Salute.